folks. This is Load Bearing Beams. It's the movie podcast hosted by people named Matt Stokes
and Lacey Roth.
Yes.
Can I just say, do you usually start off with hi, folks?
No, it's something I'm trying out. Usually I go
Super
hello, or I go hello and welcome, or
So hi, folks.
I've never settled on a standard greeting.
That's not true. I feel like hello is what you typically do.
No, I haven't done that in a long time, and I don't think I ever did it enough for it to become. But also, it's really stupid. I don't want to say hello.
It's okay. It is dumb. You could just say hi.
I pay attention to lots of podcasts. My dream was to have a podcast with where there was no introduction at all. It just started talking, you know?
Well, I'm glad we've achieved that.
No, we haven't.
I know.
Oh.
Okay.
My previous podcast, the Never Trust a Bat podcast, just started like that. I would just be like, so when you're talking about the Beatles, there's a few things you got to know.
And so you did your sex face? Well, like you're doing right now, you're doing your sexy sex face. So when you're talking about the Beatles, it's like a little Marilyn Monroe-ish.
Oh.
You want to try?
Well, I am very coquettish when I podcast. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's just I make stupid faces. So, big podcast news. We have headphones, and we're wearing them, and so we can hear ourselves as we talk, and it's going to take some getting used to.
That's right. We were going commando before, which is what you call it when you don't wear them. Don't check. I know podcast lingo. You don't. And I can hear myself, and I sound really professional.
Yeah, I did the we record, and then when it's too late, I listen back and I'm like, this does not sound good, and then I make no adjustments and don't change my behavior at all going into the next recording.
And if you've noticed, there are several episodes where it sounds like I am making commentary from the other room, but it's Matt's podcast, so we're hoping.
Why is that?
Because you have a big booming radio voice, and I'm a quiet little wilting flower.
You're very quiet.
I talk a lot, just not effectively.
You have a how would you describe your voice? Is it tinny? Is it?
What the fuck? That's your first?
It's a little tinny.
It's tinny?
Yeah, it's made of tin.
Tell me someone else who has a tin voice so I can.
I don't have it all cataloged in my head.
No.
You have so many good qualities. I don't have to praise your voice.
We do a podcast together. I'd like to know my voice is shit.
It's not that it's shit. It's tin. Tin's good for.
I'm asking you to give me an example of another person who has that quality in their voice so I can unhate you. This is for our marriage.
Michelle Obama.
You just pulled that out of nowhere. Do you mean that?
Barack Obama.
You're just naming people. You really can't think of one.
Tina Fey.
All right.
Dude, I don't.
Linda Belcher.
You don't sound like Linda Belcher. You just have a very similar personality.
Oh, okay.
Have we talked about how much you identify with Linda Belcher? How?
I find that I identify with Linda mixed with Bob.
Wow. Okay, so you're like, I actually identify with multiple characters. Yes. I'm not saying she's literally you, but this is a very good, like, there's a lot of Lacey up there on screen when we watch Bob's Burgers.
Yes. Much more than any other.
How so?
I make songs about lots of things, and they're usually unwelcome. I get childishly excited about random stuff, and then I get into it in a kid-like way. Not a lot. But it's kind of, I think it's usually a little bit surprising when I get really into something. But when I do, I get all in. I have little Nick, little teeny Tina, got my baby back. I've got
it's all that shit. Yeah,
I got standard nicknames. Yeah, I'm a face.
We're talking about Bob's Burgers and the character portrayed by John Roberts, actor, a man playing a woman, which Lacey's very mannish, so that makes sense. Also, he's a gay man, and Lacey's very much a gay man.
I'm very much a gay man.
Not in an appropriation kind of way. It's just the people I watch in film and television who most remind me of Lacey always happen to be gay men.
Yeah, and because there's something very like vaudeville or did something very theatrical in the way that I get upset.
Not to stereotype gay men.
No, I'm
We're
doing
not
Linda.
all like that. Yes, I know. I'm just saying.
But there is some real theater kid in there and dramatic.
Yeah, you're very theatrical.
I'm very loud.
You're very
randomly.
expressive with your body.
I'm very-
You have a Cosmo Kramer thing
Yes.
where you react to everything like very big.
right.
Like you hear a
What?
noise and your whole body will like do a 360.
I once did such a slide on the kitchen floor in reaction to something that a kernel of rice jammed into my foot like a splinter, the whole grain of rice. So yeah, I'm awkward with my.
You get lots
My
of random
movements.
injuries, like oh, so random. Like you get injuries that when you describe them are like, yeah, you would get injured that way, wouldn't you?
Like I dropped all my popcorn in the toilet, or stuff like that.
Yeah, did that happen?
No, but I mean, you should probably, I kept trying to think of
You
a good
fall down
one.
the stairs a lot.
Okay, that like 3 times.
You get a lot of injuries that if we had a bad marriage and you were telling people at work about them, they'd be like, sure.
I always hit my hip in that same spot on the fucking wall. How am I hitting a hip on a wall? I'm doing it though. I've got a lot of knobby knees, knobby ankles, and that one toe. So those things get hit a lot. Oh, and I just don't watch where my body is. Spatial unawareness?
Yeah, you lack spatial awareness.
Except for that I'm a fantastic dancer. So do those 2 things go together? Who knows?
Well, they clearly do.
Oh, and she thinks she's a great singer, and so she's always trying to add that to things, and that would definitely be me as well, unearned great singer.
You have a good singing voice. You're not great at
Using it.
using it, is what I'm trying to say.
The application's not there.
I have a bad singing voice, but I know how to
You're-
sing on key.
you're excellent
and I
at
have
keeping
good timing.
Yes.
And Lacey kind of doesn't have either of
I
those,
have
but a good
fantastic
voice.
timing for dancing, and then as soon as there's no lyrics on a song, and you're like, so let's sing this. No, I just don't know when to start, and I'm not ever sure I'm doing it right. I need constant reassurance.
Okay, yes. See, you're not just in tune like a
I'm not.
mother's womb to a babe with the music. Like I just
You
feel
are.
things coming.
Second nature. You have the best timing.
Thanks. That's what this podcast is all about. It's praising the person we're married to. And we're married, and we have a podcast.
Oh,
and
right.
we call it Load Bearing
Load-Bearing
Beams.
Beams.
And this is what it's about.
We basically just told you. Us talking about nothing.
Dancing and stuff.
Fucking nothing. Yes, so every week, sort of. Okay, Load Bearing Beam is a movie that we make the other one watch, and the way it fits the criteria of Load Bearing Beam is if it is a movie from our past. Only one of us has a special connection with it. One of those movies where you find out someone has not seen it and your reaction is, wah! And so we try to like dig into that. Why are any movies so good that they should get that kind of reaction? And so often the movies that do are ones that no one has any business having seen even one time. So it's just movies we happen to have access to when we were younger, and we watched a lot. We identified, it clicked for whatever reason. It got baked into the fabric of the house that is me. So it's load bearing. The point here is we show it to the person we love, like having given it all this praise, and then watch our hearts break as we realize, what garbage was I watching? And sometimes like, oh yeah, good taste, Lacey, way to go, small child. Because the nostalgia is just not there for the other person. So they're having to watch it with a full brain.
And I always like to say, you know, we're all busy people. You're busy, we're busy. Who has time to do anything? And we could be watching 8 hours of a documentary or whatever trendy show. But we're going to spend our evening watching a movie where the biggest payoff is going to be, that was a fun time, and now we don't know what to do with ourselves because the movie's over and we're just going to have to talk to each other or look for something else to watch. And so
It's commitment. A short-lived commitment that burns up your whole evening.
There's a feeling that comes over one while one watches something at the recommendation of someone else who's sitting there with you,
A
and you're like,
responsibility.
"Hey, it's minute 35, and this thing sucks, and you did this to me. You did this to us. You're a war criminal." That's the kind of stuff we make ourselves do, right? So
For the podcast.
For the podcast. It's all for the podcast. For the podcast. So this week we did Lacey Picked a Movie, Weekend at Bernie's.
Perhaps you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Bernie, you son of a
I
bitch!
had heard of it. I have to say, so you usually pick movies that either are like cult classics I've never heard of, or that's kind of it. No, or maybe they skew more to the chick flick, or we would just stereotypically call it more female in sensibilities.
It's fine.
But I'd never seen this movie, and I didn't know a thing about it other than, there's a dead person and they pretend he's not dead. But I didn't know when it was made. I think in my head I always thought it was older than 1989, and that maybe like Bill Murray or somebody might have been involved.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. I thought
That's nice of you.
this had maybe more like SNL people on it.
Oh.
I didn't give it any thought, but I would not have said, "Oh, it's a movie from 1989." There's a big, like, it's about the Hamptons and the nouveau riche people and Wall Street
Not
money
even
and
nouveau.
stuff.
Just capitalism and how empty their lives are and how much they don't actually pay attention to each other. They just care about their own wealth.
And knowing that there's
their
a
own
dead
good
person
time.
that they have to puppet made me think like this is much more like wackadoo,
Yes.
silly movie, and what it is like a very dark, just very dark comedy. But you talk about the movie. What's your story with it?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't have thought any of those things about it. Again, it's just like it's a movie that goes from a dreary place to a fun, happening place. So it's like as soon as they get on the Hampton Islands, which is not the Hamptons, by the way, it's North Carolina. But the movie
It's filmed in North Carolina.
Yeah, right. And yeah, just a little tidbit. But when anyone on a boat who gets a drink and people are dancing and now they're in short pants instead of they're like, well, in New York they were hot and working and they had shit apartments and then they get on a boat and it's like, da, 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 da. Okay, it's that circus music. I was going for steel drum there. That kind of thing always was an appealing. That alone would have made me enjoy the movie. And I just really like physical comedy. And this movie is all, I mean, there's a lot of slapstick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like convenient timing, and a comedy of errors get it to where they get away with something.
Sorry, are you saying that if that seeing a movie where people are like having fun in a pleasant environment makes you like it?
When it switches drastically from something dreary to something fun, I just do. I can't think of many examples where I don't know, the movie, it's like Dumb and Dumber, right? It just takes this big turn into a happy, they just do really well at living it up.
So the movie opens in New York City. It is so 80s. The font is very like TGIF sitcom, like Full House style font. It's got sort of that 80s color, like grime,
There's grime?
Yeah, kind of grimy New York, but, it's exciting. You can feel it. You can feel the pulsating energy. And you meet our two protagonists, and the names are big above the title. Andrew Marchand, right? Jonathan Silver.
No, Andrew
Not
McCarthy.
Marchand. Who is Andrew Marchand?
No one I listen or watch.
Yeah. Jonathan Silverman, and the movie poster has their names big above the title too, and I'm like, I've never heard of either of these guys.
What? Andrew McCarthy, he's a national treasure. He's in a million
go
good
on,
things.
yes.
He's in, he's in Mannequin 1, Mannequin 2. He's in Weekend Berries 1, Weekend Berries 2.
Andrew Marchand is a sports writer for the New York
Oh,
Post.
what, shocking! I don't know who that is.
Me neither.
He's in Pretty in Pink. Is it Pretty in Pink?
Well,
No,
I come to find
Pretty
out
in Pink.
he's a member of the Brat
Brat
Pack,
Pack, yes.
something I have no knowledge of. In fact, it didn't
I've
even occur
educated
to me. Yeah, you have, but he wasn't in the Breakfast Club, so
No.
I don't know.
He's in St. Elmo's Fire, and he was in Pretty in Pink.
Membership in the Brat Pack is, it's controversial as to who can be a member, but
Yeah.
generally accepted if you were in either St. Elmo's Fire or Breakfast Club, then you're considered a member.
That makes sense because Ducky from Pretty in Pink is not.
Okay.
And he's such a tiny an archetype of like that kind of character was repeated in lots of movies after that.
Yeah, I feel stupid that I didn't realize until I just said it 2 seconds ago that Brad Pack comes from Rat Pack.
Oh my God.
And then the frat pack of the early 2000s, your Vince Vaughns and your Luke Wilsons
Yeah.
and basically the stars of old school. That too.
Wow.
I'm an idiot.
You are
I
worth
really
divorcing.
Stepped in it this time. But who's the okay? So yes, I'm reading his filmography, and I'm like, all right, yes, this guy seems like he was a big deal in the '80s. I've never seen any of these movies, so
And he hasn't stopped working since.
he doesn't exist to me. But I'm looking at this other guy's filmography, Jonathan Silverman, and I'm like, I don't
know him from anything but this.
He's worked in like lots of TV shows that you will have never heard of.
Yeah. He did this.
He did this.
He was fine. You know, I mean, and Andrew McCarthy was actually supposed to be him until he read the script and was like, nah, shitty sidekick's better. And he's right.
Shitty side. You think he's the sidekick?
Yeah.
So these two guys are.
Well, the movie thinks he's the second person as well. Well, I think he's the star, but
Sorry, wait.
equal.
Let's slow down.
Yeah.
So Andrew McCarthy is top billed, and you're saying his character is Larry.
Mm-hmm, Lair.
And he is the sidekick.
Yeah, that's how they, best friend sidekick. But I guess the guy that does not get the girl equals sidekick.
He's less the straight man. I mean, he's more the instigator of
He's the
chaos.
yeah.
I don't think
say
of him as a sidekick, and he's so much more interesting than the other guy.
Very much more. But that's why he picked that part. I mean, he was the more famous person, so he got to choose which one he wanted, and he picked the right thing. Playing no, we should call the cops. Oh, boobs. That's not interesting.
I fucking hate that other guy. I rarely think this. Like, this fucking guy. As in, like, if he were my friend, I'd stop being his friend.
Nice guy?
Yeah.
The quote-unquote.
Oh, because nice guys are always odious. They're like, I'm a nice guy, but like, I'll date rape a woman. Who cares? Like, that guy's all into that.
He does a bunch of not nice guy things the entire time. He just keeps going back to we need to call the cops. What are you doing? Let's keep doing it.
If you weren't doing it, it's with a movie like this.
You have to have that.
You can either They work in corporate America in New York. They look at numbers.
They're pre-cubicle workers too. They're like before cubicles were. They're assembly line workers is what they call that when the desks are just all in a row.
Okay,
it's extra sad.
Well, they look at numbers and
they crunch them.
They work real hard, real long hours, and Jonathan Silverman keeps saying, like, this is all going to be worth it. Well, you'll see. We just got to work hard and put in the hours and show the bosses that we're worth it, and all our dreams will come true.
Reach our goals. Set the goals and reach them.
And I could not tell throughout the movie if I want to give the movie credit and say, like, it is satirizing and criticizing that mentality and criticizing the ridiculous consumption.
It is
here. But
it says it was.
Who says it was?
The movie says it was.
What does that mean?
The 3 things I read about it said it did.
But the 3 things you read about it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that was what was intended, but I mean, it seems so blatant that Lomax and capitalism and the what's the word? Just the way the rich don't actually take care of each other. They just use each other as a floating party.
Yeah, but I think there's a way in which you could see, and like, it's allowed to think this. The movie could say, like, no, this stuff is rule. This stuff rules. It's great to be rich, and you should want to get rich like Bernie Lomax so that you could live like this too, which is fine. I just couldn't tell if it was basically pro or anti.
I think it's anti.
That. Okay. They're schlubs who work in corporate America, and they're trying to climb the ladder, and they find some money off the books that's gonna blah blah blah, and their boss is like, I'm very impressed with you boys, and he invites
a $2 million accident.
Mm-hmm.
They think, yep, that's gonna get into the boss's pants. He's gonna be so happy we found this $2 million mistake. Think again.
Which I almost.
It
He's not happy
more.
about it because, well, I don't know, 1989.
Okay.
It was probably a lot, but The boss acts like this is good, but it's good because he was the one who stole the $2 million and he's going to try to hide it by
It's good that you brought this to me. Boys.
killing, rather than like to I don't know, the board. I don't know.
What? That they brought it to him instead of
someone else, like an intermediary.
He can control it.
Yes. And he's like, to reward you or to blah, 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 you can come to my house in the Hamptons. And they're very excited. And the one, Andrew McCarthy, is like, this is going to be the best weekend ever. We're going to get to hang out in a nice house. That's it. We're going to get to hang out in a nice house. It'll be the greatest weekend of our lives. And they do. And Bernie, their boss, is actually tied in with the mob. And he gets killed via a shot.
No. Oh, okay. An injection.
An injection that
There's
kills
also
him
a gun,
painlessly
so a shot.
within 20 seconds.
To make it look like a drug overdose. Very classy.
Yeah.
Nice homicide there.
This is how
A
you'd
good
want to
hit.
die.
Yeah.
Just a nice little shot, and then you're dead.
Okay,
Very, very
stop
quickly.
saying shot. Injection, because there are guns, and he does get shot. It's just
I am
very-
so
just-
sorry if I confused you guys. You folks.
Okay. Making a no folks rule.
Folks is
I
good
hate that
because
word.
it's gender inclusive.
So are lots of other words.
Like what?
Y'all.
Sorry, y'all.
You alls.
I endeavor never to say y'all.
I hate saying y'all. So
We're from the South, the southern United States, that is. And
it's a trope, and we don't like to use that stereotypical.
yeah, I want to
Lazy
be
word.
like, think you know what people from the South are like?
Think again.
Think again.
We say you guys.
Exactly.
You alls.
You think I know how to drive a tractor? I don't. I drive a Ford pickup.
Okay.
What? And I have to
Point
include like an
proven.
anti-Trump bumper sticker on it so people won't think I'm an asshole.
Yeah, because the truck is. We bought it from your dad. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a truck because a truck is very. If you're in the South and you drive a truck, it is very much means something about you.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I'm going to hunt.
They're very useful.
They are so useful.
Yeah. What were we talking
They
about?
pick up all kinds of things. He gets injected and dies.
I just wanted to get to the point where he dies so that I could say this. If you're making a movie where the premise is this like morbid but also goofy, which is there's a dead body and we're going to pretend it's alive and no one's going to notice because everyone is so drunk and high and also so self-absorbed and they're just using this guy for his stuff, so they're just like, hey Bernie, love to see you, what's going on, and then they don't listen for a response because this is also superficial.
Right, they don't actually care.
I feel like you either have to make it, you have to do like a lot of work to show why they wouldn't just call the cops, or you have to, it has to be like Jawbreaker, a movie we watched a few weeks ago, where right away they're just like, she's dead and I don't fucking care and we're not going to call the cops. But instead you have kind of this middle ground where they're fretting the whole time, but
Yeah, but
also
not
just
Larry.
kind of, well, okay, so
He makes sure it keeps going. He's the one setting up the devices to make it look like he plays Monopoly with him really loudly.
He's,
so that
he's
people
far
can
more
hear
into
it.
the scheme than Richard is, but Richard frets, and then Richard then just continues to go along.
Well, because you've got the carrot the whole time for him, which is that he goes out on a date right before with this girl he's been having a crush on at work, goes on a date with her, lies to her in all kinds of weird ways. He gets busted, and then the very next day he's on a boat going to the Hamptons. So he's all bummed out. I messed it up. And so just when he's about to call the cops because things have gone too far on the first night that Bernie is there and this party shows up and everyone's kissing him hello and he's dead and they're not noticing, he's just like, I've had it, I'm calling the cops. And then he sees the lady. She happens to be in the Hamptons. What a
Yeah.
coincidence.
Well, earlier she said, I quit my job, last day of my job today, and in a few days I go to school and I go away forever. In the interim, I'll be with my parents, spending the weekend with my parents.
And it turns out at the Hamptons.
And I dropped a stack of plates on the floor. I was so shocked.
So-
What? She's still in the movie? That line earlier was not
Foreshadowing.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Anyway.
Here's why he sucks, or here's why he's the worst character.
Okay, tell me.
the sitcom-y lying, getting caught in a lie and then like, I feel like that stopped being funny in the 50s or
Was
60s.
that part supposed to be funny? It just makes me feel cringy when he's making the lie bigger.
I don't think you're supposed to be like cringy in like a The Office kind of way. No. I don't know. She's like, but you said your parents are blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, yes, it is because my parents are dead because they're dead.
He builds on the lie. And yeah, I mean, right. It does not make him a sympathetic character. I mean, even when I was 8 watching it, I was thinking, douche. I mean,
not just that it's not sympathetic. It's just it's exhausting.
Well,
it's
that's
not
what I'm
funny.
saying. It's neither one. It's not funny. It doesn't make, it's just boring. Mm-hmm. And it's just a device to move along and dig him a bigger hole, right? So that she won't believe him whenever he's trying to tell her that Bernie is dead, because now he's this liar that lies a lot. Why can't I think of the word?
Pathological?
That's the one. Chronological.
He's a chronological liar.
He lies in order.
So he has that, and then he has just the stupid, pathetic devotion to, if he just works the job hard enough, and when he gets to the Hamptons and he sees Lomax's nice house, and he's like, it's inspiring.
Right. All this wealth. That is a weird thing to get a boner over. I'm going to aspire to this.
Yeah, he's the worst. He's
gross. He's a yuppie.
When he wins the coffee drinker award at the holiday party, he's like really excited about it. He thinks it's a real award. That's what I'm saying. That's who this guy is. He fucking sucks.
So weird.
He's the one who should die. The other guy's really funny, and I like him, even though
he's an awful friend.
He'd be the worst friend. And he's way too excited about going to spend time in a nice house and drink champagne. How fun could this actually be?
He's the kind of person that gets excited easily. That makes him fun.
He does.
He wanted to go on the roof and get in a kiddie pool.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie.
I think that was actually my favorite part. I think that them being on the roof with their tar, looking at their printed out computer paper, I found that very charming. I liked it.
Sorry.
Bernie is played by Terry Kaiser. Do you know in your research? Do you know how they handled the? Is that actually him throughout the movie?
It's him the whole time. The only time it's not him is every time there's a physical stunt. He had a couple of stuntmen, and the boat scene where he's being pulled by his feet or whatever, or just being roughly drugged through the water, hitting the buoys all the way around. That was a real person. Why did they not?
That was a real stunt guy?
Yeah, and he broke a rib, but that's all. Like, he broke a fucking rib.
Oh, worth it for art.
But I would watch that scene again just to
try to find where it
more.
Happens?
No. Just the fact that, I mean, it's a long scene of getting drugged through. It's a very fast boat. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yep. All the stunts by real people.
I mean, great. That's great. He's excellent. He's so funny.
He's really good. And a little smirk. He manages to have just enough of a smirk where you're like, I guess a dead guy could do that.
I don't know if this would be like an impossibly hard acting job, or if an actor would be like, oh no, it's so fucking easy.
I was wondering the same thing
the whole time and just move your body around funnily. So I don't know. It works. He does a great job.
He does a great job.
And I didn't laugh very much, but I thought it was pretty well.
You laughed more than I thought you would.
Okay. Pretty well made comedy, has a lot of energy, gets a lot more, like just what I'd heard about the movie. This is about a dead guy who got a puppet. It's like, well, that's a flimsy premise. But actually, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, you could make 10 of these movies. There's so much to work with.
Well, I mean, but I did feel it in the third act. Like, it was starting to drag. When they're, like, trying to get off the island, I was like, the party is the part I think of the most. And then them walking and the puppeteering are the parts that I remember the most. It's interesting. There are whole giant sections that I completely forgot. Because it does kind of drag right before it gets to the last like 10-15 minutes. But anyway, that is the praise that the movie received, is that you think they can't carry this joke, but then like, okay, they kind of fucking did it.
Which makes me think like lots of movies. This should be a genre, the dead body genre. We have a dead body and we have to deal with it, not dispose of it. We have to, I don't know, We have to. You know what?
Yeah.
There's not that much you can do with it.
There's
I
really
guess.
not that much, no. And it's a trope, apparently. It's called Of Corpse He's Alive, something like that. I was just watching. Nope. I was reading a list of movie tropes that this movie does because it does a ton of them.
Go on.
That was one of them.
Of Corpse He's Alive?
Shit. It's one of those things where I half read something and I just liked the pun that it made, and so I announced it. Anyway, that was the working title of the movie. And then after that, it was Hot and Cold, and then it became Weekend at Bernie's.
I think
They settled on the right one.
the reason it's successful is mostly because it's called Weekend at Bernie's.
And it's right, because the
when you-
weekend makes you feel so excited.
Well, and having a name, just having that name, just makes you think like, oh, this must mean something. This doesn't mean anything to me, but this means something to someone, so I need to get in on this.
yeah, Hot and Cold is fucking
You know
stupid.
Bernie. Oh,
Also,
it's
if
terrible.
they mention cold, now all of a sudden I'm thinking of how cold the corpse is, and it gets gross. As soon as you start to think about rigor mortis and the smell, so you have to be able to put those things completely out of your mind.
Which I did. I wasn't thinking of them at all. I like
did a lot.
when Larry is playing Monopoly with the corpse and then just casually swatting flies off of it. That's funny.
That's sweet.
I like when the lady fucks the corpse.
What? That's where it could have jumped the shark there. Why didn't we see a raging boner on him the whole time? But yeah, you can't think about it too
there's
much.
that. But no, I don't like to be like what? This makes no sense. You're telling me that this corpse had a boner and she fucked it?
She fucked that bone.
So I don't like to be that guy, but I was just confused. I was like, okay, so I barely remember who this woman is, but earlier in the movie, she's a mobster's girl
She's
who's
the
also
reason why he gets whacked.
boning Bernie on the side. She shows up drunk with a knife, and she's gonna go kill him because she thinks Bernie's in bed
cheating on her.
with another woman.
And then she gets
gets into the room.
and he's alone, and now he's an angel, and then she just starts stripping, and then, but we're supposed to be thinking, how does that work? That's not possible. I think that's part of the joke, because they're making the faces, we're making the face, the guy in the golf cart's making the face, like, how is this happening?
Her making love to the corpse is the actual I don't want to be crass. The penetration part is the part that I find most plausible. What I don't find plausible is how quickly she turns from "I'm going to murder him" to "I'm so turned on
premise
that I'm going to take off my clothes." All right, but
this
even
was
that
annoying
is
yesterday as well when you didn't understand that she was supposed to meet him at a place. He didn't show up there, so she thought she was stood up. So she gets drunk. She goes to where she thinks he is. Because he must be cheating. That's why he forgot to meet her there. So then she thinks these guys are protecting him. She's certain there's a woman up there. It turns out he's just up there sleeping like a little lamb. He overslept.
still stood her up.
Yes, so what? She's already
All right,
married to
but
a mom.
after, again, she makes love to the corpse, sweet, tender love.
Tell me.
It goes really quickly.
Oh my God.
And then,
But
without hearing anything from him, she gets dressed, leaves, and goes back down to have a drink with strangers. And she's like,
She was really drunk.
that's weird. Why would she do that?
She's weird.
Okay.
Why would she toe his
She is
crotch in the
weird.
middle of the? Yeah, she's fucking weird.
Oh, well, we've all done that.
And she's clearly completely blind. That's the whole point, right? She's blind to all of it because he's the biggest lecherous thing ever. If she ever goes to his Hamptons house, how does she miss Tawny running through the living room with her ass out? I can tell Bernie I borrowed the boat. Like, she sees that kind of behavior all the time and thinks that Bernie is faithful to her. She's just kind of a blind person. She's,
She kind of has. Okay, so this is
And
very
she's-
keen insight. This is a
Oh,
look
thanks.
on her life. This is she's probably done this like a lot. Probably gone in with a knife. This is not the first time she's gone in to
Exactly.
murder him, and instead
She knew right where that knife
has
was.
made tender love to him.
That's the murder knife.
Or he's with another girl, and they keep. I have a pet peeve about men being called boys and women being called girls.
Yeah.
And they call women girls constantly throughout the movie. But if he was in bed with another
true.
girl, it's even worse when they're like, "It's a beautiful little girl right there."
Ew!
About like a 34-year-old.
Oh, God. When do they do that?
They do it. They do it
No.
all the time. Also,
this movie?
No, just in
Oh,
general,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
in film, and in songs.
Well, even worse, like beautiful babies. Now you want to fuck the fucking tiny babies?
"Sweet Child of Mine"
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Guns
No,
N'
I
Roses.
know there's a bunch of songs like this. I know.
Why are
I
you so
thought you were
frustrated that I-
thought you were talking about the movie doing that and did not.
Sorry.
What are you sorry for? You didn't do anything.
I'm
Stop apologizing, you son of a
okay,
bitch.
sorry.
Della.
Weekend at Bernie's.
I didn't mean to throw you off so much.
You really did. I don't know. He seems okay to me,
Bernie?
but I only know him as a dead man.
That's the thing. He goes from the biggest piece of shit with an annoying voice to like the sweetest, most lovable.
That's true. Okay, yeah.
It's this little smirk on his face. Watch, and because a guy that's like that loose and that jello-y, and he's like lovable, passed out dad.
Okay, yeah. I'd love to be a relaxed, just come what may guy, and that's
Like
what
a-
Dead Bernie is. You know, come what may, he'll just deal.
There's so many good little physical things that they do to make it look like, for the accidental ways that he's. If you were to go interview all of these guests, they would all swear they saw Bernie talk, walk, and answer questions because of just little things he does. Like someone sits on one arm, and that makes him shake his head yes to the person who's on the other side.
It's very well done.
It is.
How all of that works.
It felt very silent movie or something. There was something so fluid. You know what I was
Yes,
going
it
to do?
is
I was
very
going to
silent movie.
compare the way that Larry works Bernie's body to the way that the general, just this fluid mastery of its machine. Why can't I think of his name? Buster Keaton. Mm-hmm. The way that he knows that train.
I was thinking the whole time this is like a silent movie
This is a silent, right.
premise, because you could just do so much.
With the
body.
With the body.
But it's also the thing of like people, we perceive things so much less well than we think we do.
Right.
We remember things so much worse than we think we do. We just fill in the blanks when we look or take in any information. You know, the thing with like a bunch of kids will pass a basketball to each other, try to follow, and in the meanwhile, a gorilla suit goes through.
I know I've seen it, but that was a weird
yes,
way
I
to
explained it
explain
very poorly, but
Jesus.
that experiment, like how many people will comment afterward acknowledging the presence of a person in a gorilla suit, and most people don't. They only
Because our
notice.
brains fill in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we don't have the bandwidth to take in full of everything. So yeah, we just connect dots that aren't there. That's what I was saying. That's why I love the party scene. There's so many opportunities. Every single person there who had any kind of interaction with Bernie would swear he spoke to them, but he does not once say a word.
Yeah.
But there are several times where someone on the other side says yes or no,
Mm-hmm.
and they take it as a response from Bernie. So it's like so many witnesses,
Yeah, and the fact,
so much flawed
how could he
testimony.
be dead? There's so many people here. Nobody's acting like he's dead. How could he
Right.
be dead? He didn't talk to me, but like so many other people were around, so many witnesses. Usually when I see a person at a party, they're alive, not dead.
So true.
Yeah, this one, not dead.
Pattern recognition. Yeah, and just every single woman that he interacts with, you're insufferable. Oh, you lech. Oh, Bernie, at it again. Oh, what are you doing? Date raping for fun, you old stag? He is very molesty. Even when he's dead.
They all were. That was the style at the time.
Right. It is interesting that they choose to, like, show that she's different. She's not about that life. The
She
love
being
interest,
yeah.
the Gwen, because she's around two of the party goers. One of them who's kind of funny, the like extreme Bobby baby. Oh yeah, I don't know what he is, but he's so drunk. And he's like, Gwen, I haven't seen. You can tell she's grown up and gone to the Hamptons each summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the men who's also probably known her since she was a tiny girl were like, that outfit's gorgeous. It'd look even better crumpled on my floor. So like she gets hit on by someone that's definitely seen her in diapers.
Ugh.
Yeah, and then she walks away from the party, and it's like I just don't really understand those people.
Yeah, she goes
So-
to the beach to look out at the ocean.
That's how you know
And when-
this movie is about showing capitalism as being ugly, or just not capitalism, just the unchecked wealth.
Yeah, these are very silly people.
Yeah, but
It's-
she's not.
Yeah, well, yes, of course.
She's gullible. She's not silly.
Although that fucking what's it, Richard? He loves the floating party. He loves the ostentatious wealth. Why is he more attracted to
Oh,
her?
God,
Because she then goes out to the beach to be like, "This is all so stupid."
Wait.
That's not interesting. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. I just all of a sudden was like, oh shit, did I just mix up who Larry and Richard are? You're right. Richard is the straight man, right?
Yeah, and I remember because at the end of the movie, he's like, "Well, Lawrence,"
Okay.
to Andrew
okay.
Mark McCarthy.
Okay. All right. There was a big reaction that I didn't need to. Oh my god, I mixed up their names.
Oh no!
No!
I have only one other thing I wanted to bring to the
Bring it.
to discuss.
Bring it forward.
Okay. What do you? I hesitate to ask you this.
Oh.
What do you think of boats? What if I do? Do you want to be a boat person?
They seem. It seems like the way I wasn't sure what we were getting into when we bought a house with a pool. I knew very much that I wanted one, but you could tell me it cost $50,000 a year to take care of a pool, and I'd be like, yep. I just didn't have any idea. So that's the mystery. Boats feel to me too, but then you add that there's no seatbelts. No. I don't like, they seem like a place where you die. Mm-hmm. Nope. I don't think I've ever been on a boat and gone, yep, that made the day. It's always an ordeal. You gotta launch it. Then the poor fucker that's gotta like get it back out of the water, and I'm never part of that. Seems awful.
I grew up with boats. My dad has always
No.
had a boat. He has a
He's
boat.
always had like 5, but they're all like shit.
Okay, when I was a kid, he at least had like one boat. This was our boat, and it was a boat that his dad owned, but it worked really well. It's just like a small.
He didn't have to kick it to start
speedboat
it.
for a family.
Use the steering wheel from his own truck to drive it.
And as he got older, he bought a piece of land so that he could build a warehouse on it in which he could store boats that he would go acquire from for $1,000
It's like
through
a
like newspaper
boat
ads.
hospice in there.
It is a boat hospice.
Yes.
Yes, there are boats. So just sorry, Dad. I know you listen.
Does he?
No,
Oh.
but boats that are decrepit and depressing, and he's never going to take them out. But it makes him happy that they're all there, and I understand. I love having all my stuff, near me. I like to be surrounded by my stuff and to like think about it and look
But it's
at
all
it.
got roaches living in it.
Well, he loves roaches.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine. Okay, but going out on the boat was all I associated with it is stress.
Yep.
It's an ordeal.
Your mom
it's
yelling.
work. My mom yells at my dad. The boat's always broken. He can't fit. You have to, build in 3 hours of time to figure out what's going wrong with the boat so you can eventually get going. And then
Then
you're
dad
just
feels
stuck out
ashamed.
on the river with, your family and a cranky mom. And yes, Lacey?
And it's like you're in a wake zone for fucking ever. So you're like, okay, can't wait till we can get out here and go fast. We're in the slow part. Man, the slow part's taking a long time. How long is this fucking slow part? And then it's like, all right, cool, open water. Now we can really rev it up. And it's like, and like your face feels weird and like it's dirty but cold. And then you're like, I hope the boat stops going fast. And then it does. And then you're like,
Yeah, because the other big
when
thing
do we go fast again?
that I still have is just fear. I'm afraid of boats going fast.
Yeah, people die in them all the time.
Yeah, it's so
Al
easy
Copeland.
to like run over another like a little
Yes.
a kid
And propellers
kid on a
Log?
on a tube.
Oh, not a kid on a log.
I never trust whoever's driving the boat. I don't trust them. I feel like no, they're not paying attention the way they should. A little too casual. And one time, me and my dad took out a skiff.
What's a
Skiff?
What makes it a
like
skiff?
very small boat. It's basically the engine.
there a motor?
You use a
Outboard
a stick.
stick motor. I got it.
To point the
Stop
I'm describing it to the
you
listeners.
Sound
You
so
get it.
knowledgeable.
Okay, I know. I stipulated, not a boat man.
But you grew up in the boats.
Yeah,
grew
but
up
that's
in a boat district.
so I aggressively disavow any knowledge of any boat terms.
Fine.
Okay, a skiff you pilot by holding a stick that's attached to the engine, and you move it one way to make the boat go one way and another way to make the other boat go the other way.
all the arm motions
Right?
for me.
And I was like 14, and me and my dad went fishing. And because we've never caught anything, we didn't catch anything, and so it was miserable because of
Ever?
that. But my dad, I've literally not caught a fish since I was 6. And I've been fishing 10 million times since then.
You're so not a fisherman. I just
And-
can't even picture you fucking doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I went on a deep sea fishing excursion where they basically do it. They hook they do everything for you. They take you to the fish and they're like, put your fucking line in the water and the fish will come.
It's like on The Crown where the
Yes.
queen goes stalking and the guy like just makes her follow him till he's like, okay, there, antelope. or
Points the
whatever.
gun, puts
Puts
it
it-
perfect shot, and then you move in and
Yep.
just press the button. The gun button to make the gun do its gunnery. And so when we went on this deep sea fishing excursion, I then got seasick. Like within minute 2, went down to the bottom of the boat, threw up a lot, and slept for 3 hours until we went back to shore. That was the closest I came to catching a fish. I feel like I would have caught one if I hadn't gotten sick. I count it as a victory. The point is this. We were in the skiff, and my dad's like, you want to pilot the boat? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh boy, you should learn. My dad's not like that. Never mind. He was not like, oh, boy, you got to learn. But he asked if I wanted to drive the boat, and so I did. But I didn't totally get the hang of it, and I pulled the lever all the way one way, and the boat violently turns toward, the trees on one side of the river, and it's just hauling ass toward them. And I can't turn. I'm not strong enough to
Got
get the
it.
boat to turn the other direction. And before I know it, the boat has just done a 360, and the force of the boat spinning around that fast. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Yes, I just don't understand. You said lost power, like the electricity went off.
the engine shuts off because it's spun
got,
around
like-
too fast.
Well, because of like water in it or something.
Something like that.
Sure. We're boat people.
Yeah, so at 1 second we're hurtling fast toward our deaths, and the only thing that saved us was the fact that the boat
Did a spin.
spun itself around because that's
You're a shit driver.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
All right, so this moment it still haunts me at night. I still think
I
about
didn't
this
know
sometimes.
this about you. I'm never getting in a boat again with you.
So scared about how close we came to dying,
Too much power.
and how blasé about it my dad was. He was like, "Pff,
That's what I'm saying. Anything with speed
way too much power. Yes.
is power. Does my adamantly against motorcycles. I do not see the fucking point. I want to go. My body is meant to go at this speed because when I bump into something at this speed, I don't get hurt that bad. Mm-hmm. You send my body a little faster. Bruise City. Okay.
And take out all the stuff that makes you safe.
Like
But that's
skin.
why while I'm watching the boat section of this movie, which is a lot of the third act of this movie,
No, that I really
I am
lose
just
interest.
so stressed out. Because I'm like, why are they driving this fast? They don't know how to drive a boat. Why would they insist on driving it this fast? There's so many times where they actually would have killed somebody. I shouldn't be thinking this about
No,
a
I was
comedy.
too. I was too.
But I was.
But then the rich guy, that is illegal, sir. Like, he's not even yelling. He's so drunk. That's illegal.
I have only one more
That's-
question. I know I said I only had one thing, but I have another question.
Alright.
There was The Weekend at Bernie's 2, which you said you also love.
I do. But
What's
the
the deal
reviews
with
say
that?
it's even worse. I can't remember
How
the
does
premise.
it's the same
It's-
corpse?
Yes, but the corpse moves by itself now.
What?
Because of voodoo.
Really?
They go get it out of the morgue because he's got some sort of life insurance, some sort of if he's there to sign for something, they can get a whole bunch of money. So they go to get his body, and for some reason, 2 parties know about this. So you've got the person. It's very confusing. I can't. It's been years, but that's where the Weekend at Bernie's dance comes from because he dances in a conga line and he walks on his own.
There's a dance?
Anytime anytime music plays, it makes him stand up and walk and dance. Yeah, there's a Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, there's like a whole craze, like, they're in the aughts. What? Anyway, yeah, there's a Weekend at Bernie's dance, and I can do it for you. I do it very well, and I was doing it before it was ever like a dance craze. It's no longer interesting to do.
I'm always aware of dance crazes, but this is one I missed.
This is several years ago. It's little tidbits. You remember how there were several times where you and I both were like, is it dubbed over? Like, why
are the voices seeming like they're not matching the lips?
There's a lot of ADR that you don't have to.
I don't know what ADR means, but don't
Additional
tell me.
dialogue. Okay.
Don't tell me, because I don't know if we were watching a different version of it, or if they just needed to make it more family friendly to make it any money at all. So they just anytime there's like curse words, they just dub over with something completely different. That's every time we saw it. They were saying something blue. That's what I read.
I mean that kind of happens a lot. ADR happens in general. It's something that just has to be done. There was a noticeable amount, and not in like we're changing the content so that it's less offensive. I mean, like they're like doing plot stuff where you're not seeing people talking, you're just hearing them in voiceover.
Okay.
There's an awful lot of that, which means like we had to find the movie in the edit.
I see what you're saying. A little tidbit. That house was built specifically for the movie, and part of the agreement for them to get to film on the island that they did is that they could not leave any trace of them having ever been there. So they had to totally build that house, and then they completely took it apart and took it away after the movie. Seems weird, because it's a nice house.
I guess. I don't know.
You don't know the house was
I'm not
nice?
inspired like Richard is.
Okay.
By
Well, it's because it's furnished with 80s bullshit. It's still, you can tell it's, whatever. The guy that wrote Rambo.
The director. We haven't mentioned the director.
Yeah.
Ted Koch. Ted.
So that's why they have the guy that's the guy that he owes, that he kicks in the butt. Bernie, get out of here. Kicks him in the butt, and then he comes back later to try to beat him up. That guy.
Yeah.
He's in Rambo, and he's also named the character name that he is in Rambo.
Oh.
Yeah, fun fact.
That's fun.
That's so fun.
Yeah, no, Ted Kotcheff, the director, journeyman director, his most notable credit besides this movie is he directed First Blood. So he is probably very rich, gets lots of residuals for setting up that franchise.
All right.
He probably makes a lot of money, is what I'm saying.
I'm not inspired. And another thing was that there was a real life Weekend at Bernie's where... Why? Okay, fine. Never mind.
No, tell me.
Dude, it was as dumb as you think it's going to be. Two guys just took their dead friend to a nightclub and used his credit card. They just spent $400. They did all that just to spend $400. Like, he had died, but he was going to pay for the night, so they just took him with them.
I mean, I get it. Sometimes I like when I'm really excited about something, or get some bad news. I'm like, just push that aside. Deal with that later.
Drag it with us.
And you do that enough times, eventually somebody dying, you can just be like, I mean, I've ignored weird stuff in the past, so I can ignore this too.
What are you talking about?
I feel like I'm being very clear. You're just not listening. You're on your phone the whole time.
I'm looking at the fun facts.
I want you here with me.
I'm on my goddamn phone all the time. I'm looking at Bernie facts, you fart.
You think this? Do you like this movie?
Yeah, I still like it. I thought it dragged. I wasn't into all the boat stuff, but everything else I liked.
Yeah.
And I want to watch the second one.
Yeah. I give it a modest thumbs up.
Out of what?
So I do
out of a down and an up.
I do ratings out of 5 stars. A modest thumbs up is a 3-star.
How would I know that?
What do you mean?
You're just not telling me for the first time? Or was I supposed to know that?
I'm not saying you should. How dare you not know my star
rating
system?
I'm asking where we are on this. Jesus. Yeah, you give stars. So when you gave it a modest thumbs up.
I'm translating my star system into language you can understand.
Okay, well, I give it 8 happy faces.
That sounds good.
Right, but
unless you tell me that it's out of 24.
I don't use that kind of rating system, do I? That's why it's not useful here.
Okay, I give it 3 out of 5 stars. That's like the lowest you can give something, while still recommending it. But like I compare this to Jawbreaker, which I gave 2.5 stars, and like Jawbreaker is a way more interesting movie, even though I liked it less. About a tangentially related premise.
Yeah.
Accidental death. Let's
not an accidental death in this movie, but okay.
Well,
inconvenient death.
Accidental for old Larry and Rich.
They didn't kill him, but I got you.
Okay, but as soon as you don't call the cops, you have committed a horrendous crime.
That's true. Transgental.
So this is our podcast, and if you like it, and why wouldn't you, Rate,
Give
review,
it a
give us
modest thumbs
8
up.
out of 24 stars, please.
And
Happy faces
3
on
happy stars.
iTunes. Load Bearing Pod on Twitter. loadbearingbeams.com/movies to see all the movies that we talk about. It's only 7:27 p.m. and Lacey's acting like
It's because our kid won't be quiet. I need to go see what he is doing. He has been hooping and hollering in bed. He wanted to go to bed at 6.
at like 6 o'clock. He's like, all right, time for bed.
He
And
got
we're
all
like,
of
are you
his shit.
sure?
He got all of his shit, and he just started going up the stairs. He's like, oh, right, but you don't seem tired. And he has been going to town.
So we have this baby monitor, and I'm sure you've heard it,
Yeah.
folks,
The
the whole
chirping.
time.
We
The
don't
chirping.
lock him up so we can do the podcast. He locked himself up, and now he won't shut it.
And we're like, Mom and Dad are going to go podcast, son. That's what we
And that's
do.
a euphemism for boinking. Going to Sheboinkin town.
Going to Salami City.
Oh,
All right.
at
see ya.
Vagina World. I didn't do as good job as you did. Okay, love you. Bye.
3, 4. Everybody, love bearing beams, love bearing beams. Love bearing beams, love bearing beams. Love bearing beams, love bearing beams. Spider-Man. Love bearing